our special guest is Paducah's most famous citizen, Sara Bradley, chef, owner, and food magician at the Great House. Sara really needs no introduction, but we did want to share a few highlights, a few headlines. Top Chef, runner-up, season 16, Kentucky Food Ambassador, James Beard, guest chef, New York City, and Sara will return to Top Chef World All-Stars, premiering March 9th. So Sara, we appreciate you taking some time with us today.
Much.
And we do want to start with Top Chef World All-Stars. So why did you want to compete again?
You know, I think a big part of it was like redemption. You know, you get like almost to the very end, but you don't get all the way. And when you're offered the opportunity to come back and try to, you know, do it all again, I wanted that redemption. My husband and I had talked about it many a times. He was like, you know, if they call you and ask you to do it, are you going to do it? I don't know. It's like, if they call and ask, you should do it. And they called and he was in the room and we said yes. And they're like, you don't even need to think about it. I was like, no, we've already talked about it.
You're
yes.
ready. Well, we will all be watching. And we have to ask too, so you've been in some of the most famous kitchens in the world.
Yeah.
And yet you chose to come back to Paducah. So why Paducah?
You know, I had opportunities in New York and in Chicago, you know, to do things in big cities. But every time I would come home to Paducah, there was like something new happening, something cool happening. Like the energy here was just really great. And I just felt like I could have a bigger impact in Paducah than I could in a big city. And I also felt like I could make a better life in Paducah than at someplace else. So
Yeah, that's wonderful. So I read about you that your food is really like the New South.
Yeah.
So what's that mean?
Well, you know, I mean, when you think of Southern food, you know, I think of like very seasonal cooking. You know, we're putting things up when they're in season. We're cooking with things locally sourced. You know, I think of that as new Southern food. But what I do different, I guess, is I don't allow myself to be constrained by the label of Southern food. So I pull from my Jewish heritage, I pull from Middle Eastern heritage, Appalachian roots. So I take from all over and kind of reimagine.
The restaurant is a showstopper, but the bar is so all in its own. I read you have over 500 bourbons alone. Yeah. So what role do you think the bar plays in the overall food experience here?
I mean, I think if you ask me, I think the booze is pretty important. But, you know, I mean, for so long, people, you know, have been pairing food with alcohol. You know, sometimes the alcohol was drank just because the food wasn't that great and so you could get it down. But now it's kind of completely flipped. You know, like we design dishes to be paired just with certain whiskeys. We design things to go just with certain wines. Doesn't mean you can't have every whiskey or every wine with everything, but I think the booze is just so important, especially because of our locale. Yes. Bourbon is key.
During Top Chef season 16, there was a lot of flavor in there, a lot of dynamics. So what would you say was your most gratifying moment and maybe the most mortifying moment?
So I think they both come back to family for me. Definitely, let's go with the most mortifying moment first.
Okay.
So, you know, at one point we had this whole cow that we were supposed to break down and butcher and produce something really beautiful. And my husband is a cattle farmer out in Ballard County. He's also works here in Paducah, but he works out there as well. And I just didn't do good. And I remember thinking like, man, I really wished I had like nailed this cow dish because I spent a lot of time on the farm putting out mineral and, you know, putting out hay and doing those things. And so that was one thing that I really wished I'd done, but I made sausage and it just didn't work out. But the most gratifying by far was when my mother came to Macau right at kind of towards the finale and showed up out of nowhere, and I made matzo ball soup, which is something she's made for me my entire life. And I won that challenge and had some people who eat a lot of matzo ball soup, you know, saying that it was one of the best they'd ever had. So that was by far, getting to share that moment with my mother was life-changing.
And they had some pretty impressive tables, people to pick the winner. So yeah. Congratulations to you. So how did you become a foodie in the first place?
You know, I think So my childhood was very rooted in food, with hanging out with my grandmother in the Appalachian Mountains. You know, when other kids were like going outside wanting to play, I wanted to stay inside and watch her cook and watch her can and help. You know, growing up, I always wanted to help my mother in the kitchen. I never wanted to do the dishes, but I always wanted to do the cooking, you know? And so I think that that, and I am a creative person at heart, and not being able to pursue art as a career, but finding that food is art really kind of pushed me into this. Plus, I love to eat.
Yeah,
I can't think of a
doesn't?
single food I don't like.
Well, it smelled wonderful coming in here today.
Good.
So when you think about art, you know, you have 2 children now. So how has that changed your cooking at all?
You know, having children has not only changed me as a cook, but as a chef. Becoming a mother, I think it has made me a lot more gracious in how I run a business and what I expect of my employees, and I expect them to have a work-life balance. And so I really strive to have that myself. And yeah, I mean, having children, you know, just, it changes everything. And so, you know, we have made this a very family-friendly restaurant. When I had children, I decided we've got to do some different things to make sure that kids are exposed to nice restaurants and going out to eat. So.
That's nice. Now, I haven't seen your second child, but I have seen your first child in here, pulled up to the table, enjoying with everybody else. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, if you come down here some nights, Lula, the oldest one, she's 3.5, and she already knows how to like bus a table and say, enjoy your food. She'll like drop your deviled eggs off. It's the cutest thing you've ever seen.
Well, if she could get tips, she would really probably rake them in.
She's made $3 so far.
So when I think about the questions I've asked, really, what do you love most about being back in Paducah?
I think it all goes back to that work-life balance, what I said. You know, like, if I lived in a big city, I never would have had the opportunity for, you know, my husband and I to farm and to go out there on our days off. You know, I live very close, right, you know, not far at all from the business. And, you know, I pull right up, I park, I don't have to take public transportation. I mean, there's just so many things about Paducah that are beneficial. The art scene, the food scene, the bar scene, the people, just the people. I love how everyone slows down to take a moment and take care of each other. And you don't always get that in a big city. And I love it here.
So we want to ask a little bit of insight. Are you working on any new food items right now at the Freight House?
Oh, new food items?
Or experimenting with anything?
I'll tell you what, in the back right now, let's see, on Wednesday or Thursday, we had a hog delivered. So it was 202 pounds hanging weight, which means like after they take everything off, from a farmer out in Wycliffe, Mangalista ham or Mangalista pig, which is a very beautiful heritage breed. And right now it has been broken down and it is working on 6 different things. We're making lardo, porchetta, curing hams, smoking belly. We're doing all kinds of stuff. So over the next couple weeks, that will all end up on the menu.
So some of that will be in the shrimp and grits, I bet.
It might.
Does the ham? Yes.
Yeah, it might. Yeah.
So last question, Sarah. You've done a lot. You've accomplished a lot. What's still on your list?
You know, I started working on a cookbook during COVID, and then had another baby and tried to get everything back up and running from COVID. So I kind of put a hold on that, but I'd love to do that. You know, I'd love to have another business here in Paducah. But right now I'm just kind of enjoying my children being very little and, you know, embracing all of that. I don't know. Lots in store.
Well, we'll stay tuned. That's what we'll tell. Stay tuned. But we appreciate you spending time with us. You are what we like to call at Paducah Bank a wow maker. So thanks for adding some wow to the life here.
Well, I'll say this. You know, Paducah Bank was a huge part of me being able to start this business as a young person. You know, they took a risk on me, and I appreciate that every day. I know I know that they put a risk out there, and we've been successful partly because of them. So.
Well, we like to think we're good partners. So thank you again.
No problem.
And again, we'll be watching starting on March 9th.
Yes, tune in. It's going to be fun.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Bye, y'all.